Throughout the French Revolution, there were a huge number of executions. The king and queen also lost their heads on the guillotine, and the execution device took the heads of thousands. Many people who were initially in favour of the revolution were then condemned to death later, during a period of time which was known as the Reign of Terror. Robespierre led this, and anyone who dared to have any word to speak which was negative was led to the guillotine, and many people were also told upon to the authorities, and they were also executed. One man who was considered incredibly influential during the revolution was Camille Desmoulins. However, he was later executed in Paris, despite being a brilliant advocate for the end of the monarchy. Join us today as we look at the execution of Camille Desmoulins, and remember to support our channel. Please make sure to subscribe. Camille Desmoulins was born on the 2nd of March 1760 in Guise, and he became one of the most influential journalists of the French Revolution. His father was an official in Guise, and after a successful early life and education, he was admitted to the bar in 1785. However, he suffered from a stammer. This made his career as a lawyer rather difficult, but following the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789, Desmoulins became known for being a brilliant public speaker who could rally a crowd, and he urged the people of Paris to take up arms. This then turned into armed insurrection, and it climaxed with the storming of the Bastille on the 14th of July. Following this, Camille then published a pamphlet named Free France, and with this he outlined the issues with the old regime and the monarchy, and this became very popular. He also then published The Street Lamp's Address to the Parisians, which was published in September 1789. This supported reforms of the Revolutionary National Assembly, and it outlined republican ideals. He continued to write, and then he launched his revolutionary newspaper called The Revolutions in Paris and the Brabant, and in this he attacked the policies that were causing problems for democracy in France. Following the king, Louis XVI's attempted escape from Paris, he ramped up his propaganda and called for the deposition of the king and for a republic to be established. The Assembly then attacked back and ordered the arrest of Camille Desmoulins in July 1791, but he went into hiding for a number of months until he was granted amnesty. But at this time he was working closely with Georges Danton and other Jacobins and Cordeliers. He took part in the insurrection that caused the overthrow of the monarchy, and he then became the Secretary General under Danton in the Ministry of Justice. Following this, Camille was then elected to the National Convention, which gathered in September 1792, and Desmoulins joined others in a struggle against the Girondins. He continued to write, and in particular he now attacked the Girondins and their influence. Eventually these were expelled from the National Convention, but by December 1791, Danton and Desmoulins were leaders of a moderate faction known as Indulgents. Their enemies were left-wing Jacobins, who were allied to the lower-class Parisians. They then instituted the Reign of Terror against suspected counter-revolutionaries. He continued to criticise, and in his new paper, the Old Cordelier, he attacked followers of Jacques Hebert, saying their movement sought to destroy Catholic institutions across France. But now his friend Robespierre was becoming the chief spokesman of the all-powerful Committee of Public Safety, and they supported the anti-Herbertist campaign, but Desmoulins then lashed out against the committee. By this, he was making an enemy of the more powerful Robespierre, who ordered that Desmoulins' writings should all be burned. Danton and Desmoulins were accused of corruption and of counter-revolutionary conspiracy, and charges were brought before the Committee of Public Safety, and arrest warrants were issued. Desmoulins was arrested, and he was then tried before the Revolutionary Tribunal. The trial was shocking, and he was not allowed to defend himself. They were denied the right to have witnesses appear on their behalf, but Robespierre was asked to testify for Desmoulins. The verdict was then passed, and the death sentence was issued against him. Camille wrote a final letter to his wife, and he said, "It is marvellous that I have walked for 5 years along the precipice of the revolution without falling over them, and that I am still living, and I rest my head calmly upon my pillow of my writings. I have dreamed of a republic such as all the world would have adored. I could have never believed that men could be so ferocious and so unjust." On the same day that his death sentence was issued, Camille Desmoulins was brought to his execution. As he was taken to the scaffold where the guillotine stood, he was told that his wife would also be arrested, and Desmoulins went mad. He was incredibly angry and began to lash out, and several men were needed to get him onto the cart that would take him to the guillotine. He struggled and tried to plead with the crowd, and he ripped his shirt in anger. His wife would be executed 8 days later. There were 15 people who were guillotined on the 5th of April 1794, along with Desmoulins, and one of them was Georges Danton. Desmoulins died third. As he was led to the guillotine and scaffold, he screamed at the executioners, "Show my head to the people, it is worth seeing." He was then strapped to the board and was slid under the guillotine blade, before an executioner quickly released the blade, and Camille Desmoulins' head was taken clean off. Camille Desmoulins was a lawyer by training. However, he became a key member of the French Revolution, and he managed to convince crowds on a number of times about actions. He was a passionate man. However, he ultimately was considered an enemy of the revolution, and along with key allies he fell from grace, having distanced himself from Robespierre, and he became a victim of the Reign of Terror. Thanks for watching.